So I want to walk you through this introductory lecture to the strong response essay. There's a lot of material in this week's folder, and so I want to go to that and start showing you around there so that you know what's there and you know what you're looking for and looking at. So in this week's folder, Chapter 6 is the material, the textbook material that deals with the strong response essay. And so you want to make sure that you spend some time in that and understand the material that it's presenting to you, because it talks about being a strong reader, what it means to be a strong reader, how to read rhetorically, and how to read with the grain and against the grain, and just presents a lot of really good material about being a good reader, and then dealing with what you have read in writing. And that's what you'll be doing with this strong response essay. So I want to go ahead and open this folder and look at this. So Chapter 6, the information, I have provided a PowerPoint that summarizes the chapter for you, so you can read that and then look at the PowerPoint for a summary, for a review, or you can look at the PowerPoint and then know better what to look for as you read the chapter. So either approach, but that's provided for you just to help you process that material in Chapter 6. And then, of course, a quiz over Chapter 6. Same thing with Chapter 17, and then a quiz over that. So part of what you will be doing in writing your strong response and in being a good reader, reading rhetorically, is summarizing what you have read. And so you will write a summary as part of your paper. It's not a separate assignment. It's basically the first paragraph of your paper. And so information here about producing a summary with some instructions for doing that. And then the actual assignment description, an explanation of what the assignment is, and then a breakdown paragraph by paragraph of what that essay will look like, the 4 paragraphs. And then skills exercise 1, and then of course your discussion board over Stephen March's article that is in Chapter 6. So let's begin and actually look through this assignment itself. What I ask you to do in this assignment is, in response to Stephen March's The Epidemic of Facelessness, again an article that is reprinted for you in Chapter 6, I ask you to write a summary strong response essay. The essay is, Stephen March's essay is in Chapter 6, and if you have the printed textbook, it's 85 to 88. Your essay should begin with a 70 to 120 word summary of the article. So it basically is your first paragraph. In your strong response, I ask you to just speak back to the author, just to kind of discuss with him, argue with him, present to him your ideas. And Chapter 6 talks about 3 different ways that you can respond in a critique: from your own critical thinking, a rhetorical critique, or an ideas critique, from your maybe from your personal experience, or a reflection, maybe coming at it from your values, what is important to you. And I ask you to write a blended response. In other words, you can use any of those approaches or all of those approaches. I'm not specifying which of those approaches you should take. And so you as an individual are going to come at this article differently from your classmates and critique it based on your experience, your understanding, your knowledge, and your experience with the article. And so you are free to consider his rhetorical strategies. You can consider how you agree or disagree with his ideas, or you can give your personal response to the text. And so any of those is an option. As you work with your ideas, remember to use attributive tags. And I talk about what that means in just a minute, further down in the assignment. Quotation marks for any passages that you quote, and MLA documentation to distinguish your points from the text, your ideas from the author's ideas and wording. This uses a tightly closed structure. I am telling you exactly how this paper should be structured, so there's not a whole lot of thought about how to shape it, how to structure it, what to say first, what to say next. I'm not giving you that option in this paper. That will come later, but it doesn't come in this paper. So I'm giving you just very tight reins on this paper. So in your first paragraph, you will find all these first three pieces: an introduction to the text, the summary of the text, and your thesis statement. Those are all in paragraph 1. Then in paragraph 2, you will provide your with the grain response. And that's a terminology that chapter 6 uses. Paragraph 3 will provide your against the grain response. And then paragraph 4 will be your summary or your conclusion. And so there's the structure for the paper. This, because it is using MLA, Modern Language Association documentation style, and essay format, then you will also provide a separate page for your works cited page. It should have the heading Works Cited, and it should contain the citation for your article. There's a sample in the book. However, it refers to the online version of the article instead of the reprinted version in our textbook. I have provided in next week's folder exactly how you should format your works cited citation, your entry for your works cited page, whether you're using the hard copy of the textbook or you're using the online version of the textbook. And so I have provided that for you, and all you need to do is copy it and paste it into your works cited page. So here is the structure for the paper. Paragraph 1, in your first sentence, identify the author, the name of the text, with the article name in quotation marks. That's how we format article names, and the main idea of the text. So that's your very first sentence, possibly a second sentence if you start off with some other kind of introductory comment or question, or it could possibly be the second sentence. So it is something like, in his article, The Epidemic of Facelessness, Stephen March explores blah, blah, blah. In your next probably 8 to 12 sentences, you will summarize the text. And as I explain in the handout on the summary, you should go in order through the article and provide the main points that he makes. Your chapter 6 helps you with that because it provides a breakdown of the article, just a very helpful explanation of the different chunks, the different sections in the article. And if you provide 1 or 2 sentences excuse me, 1 or 2 sentences from each of those chunks, those major sections, then you're going to have a pretty well-developed summary. And then end your paragraph with this 2-part sentence telling something that you like or agree with and something that you don't like or don't agree with. The purpose of this paper is to critique the article, and I'm asking you to do that in a way that presents a positive and a negative response. And so your thesis statement is the controlling idea of your paper. That's the last sentence in your opening paragraph, and it should indicate what you agree with and what you disagree with, or what you like and disagree with, or what you agree with and don't like. And so I've given you a couple of possible sentence structures there. Although I agree with March's comments about such and such, I disagree with something else. Or although I like such and such that March does, I don't like this other aspect of the article. The article does an excellent job with such and such, however, I disagree with something else. And so you're going to present both of those in that final sentence of your first paragraph. Then you move on to your second paragraph, and your second paragraph has to repeat, it has to begin with a repeated sentence, the repeated idea of the positive response to the article. This is the topic sentence for paragraph 2. Paragraph 3 will begin with a topic sentence that states the main point of that paragraph, and that will be the negative read of your article. And so for paragraph 2, you're going to basically repeat what you've said in the first half of your thesis statement. And then you will discuss that. You'll address that. You'll give examples of it. You'll explain what you mean by your response, that you like what he does. Well, what does he do? Give some details, provide some evidence of that, support what you're saying, and somewhere within that paragraph, provide a quote. And I provide information in next week's folder about exactly how to quote. Then in your third paragraph, you do the same but opposite. So again, you begin with the second half of your thesis statement, that idea. I wouldn't repeat it exactly. I would revise the wording, give some fresh wording of it, but you begin with that. What I disagree with, or what I don't like in March's article, is such and such. And then you explain that, and you give evidence of that. You prove it. Give support for what you have said, and somewhere within that paragraph you provide a quote. And then in your fourth paragraph, you summarize. You might suggest how he could improve the article. You might just repeat what you have said, what you like and don't like, or like and don't agree with, or don't agree or agree with but don't like. You might reflect on how accurate it is, how authentic it is. There are just a variety of things you can do in your conclusion. And again, remember to include that separate works cited page that I provide information for in next week's folder. So that is the summary of the article, an explanation of the article. And then there is the description here of writing a summary, exactly how to do that, that walks you through the process and gives you some ideas here about attributive tags. All that means is that you attribute, you give credit for the quotes, the information, to the author. That according to March, or March says, or Mr. March says, you do not call him Stephen because you are not on a first name basis with him. And so you attribute his ideas, particularly his quotes, to him. And so those are all parts of the things that you are learning as you work on this strong response essay.